Thank you very much, General Dahmen. Regarding the statement about money making, I would say that that definitely falls in a secondary perspective, because with regard to military and critical infrastructure, for any meaningful contributor, the basic principle and the first objective should be to have contribution towards the proper objective related to national security. The point of view of Leviatan Group related to the topic of this panel and towards our specialization, meaning defense, military and critical infrastructure, is the fact that we definitely have a direct connection, and we can speak about security and defense without looking first at the infrastructure required as the first tier for any action. Minister Miruța mentioned in a very meaningful way the utmost importance of mobility, of moving military equipment, but I would add more to this perspective, because first you need to have the required facilities in the national structure for those equipments to be properly operated. And basically this translates into the fact that whatever you would be buying, if it's the infantry fighting machine or the F-16s or the F-35, you definitely need to have the infrastructure in place. The experience of Leviatan Group is related to highly significant objectives of military infrastructure. Two of the projects which we have in our portfolio are the first phase of the modernization and development of the Câmpia Turzi Air Base and the preparation for the F-16. And another one to be mentioned is the headquarters of the Southeast multinational NATO HQ in Sibiu. But our experience related to the F-16 infrastructure is definitely worthwhile to be mentioned, because we are speaking about such a complex facility. From outside it definitely looks like a simple hangar, but from inside you need to take into consideration a trifold perspective. One is related to the local norms and regulations. On top of that, you have the NATO standards, and on top of the NATO standards, which need to be put into place, you also have the manual for the equipment. And if these requirements are not integrated in a proper perspective and top-notch quality, then the whole acquisition of the military equipment is definitely underused. And I can definitely say that we can neglect from the start, erase this perspective of saying that we can receive the equipments, the military technique, and we'll deal with infrastructure afterwards. This is definitely not a professional perspective. And for the F-16, things seemed a lot simple, but for the F-35, the added requirements will definitely be extremely challenging, because there you have a cybersecurity requirement as well, and a more technical complex. So my basic conclusion would be that not everyone is capable of delivering military infrastructure and critical infrastructure, and also we we shouldn't separate the role and the delivery of infrastructure from the importance of the other acquisitions involved in the defense and deterrence process across the eastern flank. This would be my first set of conclusions. Thank you. Basically, I think I'm convinced actually we would need a separate conference for this topic, but we definitely should reach the conclusion that improvements can be made in terms of procurement, because as I said in my previous intervention, not anyone can be involved in defense industry capacity and defense infrastructure. And related to infrastructure, I want to emphasize this fact that in the NATO ecosystem of defense contractors, in which Leviatan Group is also a part of, there is a dedicated tier related to design and build construction companies which have for more than 50 years been involved in strategic infrastructure projects across Europe and have moved along the continent as NATO has expanded through each wave of enlargement. And this definitely showed that not every construction company or architecture are able to do design and build for military infrastructure. And moreover, the Eastern European companies, some of them, have learned from partnerships with companies who had such experience. So my point is that it would be a mistake to consider military infrastructure or critical infrastructure as a simple way of civil engineering and that's it. But what I would like to point out, and I saw this type of dialogue in the NATO ecosystem of defense contractors, is exactly what you have mentioned, General Dahlman. The planning process means a sense of predictability, which is of benefit towards all parties involved, the contractual authorities, meaning the local governments, and the private sector as well. For example, in Romania, we're used to tight deadlines in terms of acquisitions. European companies, Western European companies, or US-based companies, I saw that their expectancy is related to longer periods of analysis of procurements. So I can say that we are more adaptable to any given format of urgency and emergency. But considering the Black Sea and Balkans and the regional context in which we are, the whole hybrid context, we definitely need to have the assurance of being capable of delivering projects at the required speed with sovereign capabilities and always with an eye towards connectivity. This is a very important point I would like to emphasize. And I'll return shortly to a conclusion about the communication between the public and the private sectors. But the relation between critical infrastructure, dual use, and the whole regional context relates to connectivity in a broader sense. And this means taking into consideration the whole vicinity of the Black Sea, the regional partnerships of the whole eastern flank of NATO, and also another meaningful and interesting and worthwhile initiative, meaning the Free Seas initiative, which has a very important component related to infrastructure, and Romania has promoted two projects linking the northern part of Europe, Transcarpathia and Rail to Sea, which definitely have a dual use perspective. But I would like to relate to basically the major event of today, which is the B9 summit. And
I thought you were going to mention the Metallica concert, but B9 is also important. Yeah.
It's very important, B9, and I would not. I would want to make the connection between our forum here and the B9 initial meaning, because B9 in itself, and I'm saying this because we shouldn't forget the origin of the project, was born as a joint initiative of Poland and Romania. The first summit was held in Romania on November 4th, 2015, and it was a joint effort of the two important countries on the eastern flank, which assumed a leadership role. One, Poland on the northern side, Romania on the southern part. So basically, what we have today, meaning the third edition of the summit hosted by Romania, definitely gives us the broader perspective of how military mobility, infrastructure, and dual use across the whole NATO eastern border should be tackled and looked upon. And in terms of connectivity across the Romania and with the vicinity, I want also to add a very interesting and unique thing happening also today in the panel. Minister Miruță has a dual perspective today. He is not only the Minister of Defense, but he is also the interim Minister of Transportation. So everything
For a while,
but it's a combination which is decisive, which gives a decisive context for everything which has been we've been talking about, except for energy and digitalization, and which Alex mentioned before. And we need to look at the perspective that the critical infrastructure which the military is using, most of it depends on companies which are under the authority of the Ministry of Transportation. So if we're speaking to railway infrastructure, the national company is within the Ministry of Transportation. The civil airports, 4 of them remain there after the 1998 reform. And I would also add the naval with the Port of Constanța and the Danube ports. For example, and I'll end with this line, but it's important for the dual use perspective. If we are to look upon connectivity across the region with a logistical hub which should relate the Danube ports of Romania, Republic of Moldova and Ukraine, Galați, Brăila, Giurgiulești, Reni, Isaccea, Ismail, we are speaking of 2 companies from the Ministry of Transportation, so we would definitely need a whole of government approach. Perspective from my side, my opinion, and I'm convinced in this regard that the state budget, if properly optimized, can definitely find resources for whatever is considered of strategic importance. But apart from this, I would add the fact that solution and a decision towards this type of priority, which definitely is there, and it's a requirement for civil protection, goes in the sphere of the of a whole government approach, because you have the critical, the shelters and the critical infrastructure under the supervision of the Ministry of Interior. You have the Ministry of Defense with the critical infrastructure of the army. You have the other institutions from the national security system. So what I would definitely think as worthwhile and something to be considered is to have a permanent setup as it was the model in Romania, and it's currently ongoing with the coordination from the center of the government of the SAFE program, which brought all the parties together and which delivered solutions to that specific issue related to planning, and which led to the tackling of the SAFE program. My opinion is that this type of format can go even further in order to have a public-private permanent advisory council for critical infrastructure and for defense industry, in order to move the debate even further. And that type of decision-making body could provide the direction towards such a national priority. Of course, with the ability of identifying also the sources coming from the table. And I'm not a fan of the fact that funds aren't available. I saw yesterday a statement from the head of the European Investment Bank in Romania, saying that they are welcome to receive projects related to strategic importance for the country. So what is required in the context is to have vision, will, and ability to action. Thank you. My final conclusion would be related to the emphasis on the permanent and stable dialogue and communication cooperation, which needs to be enacted, established, and put into action between the private sector and the public sector. The business environment contains capable companies which are willing and more than able to be contributors towards national security initiatives. Leviatan Group is one of them, and we are glad to be a supporter, a keen advocate of national security causes, and this is also the reason why we are next to New Strategy Center, George and his team, for more than six years now, and we are confident that such a permanent dialogue format would definitely bring a whole of society approach, and we would be able to move projects of national interests in terms of critical infrastructure, defense industry, and other strategic objectives, energy, digital cooperation, to move further as they are meant to be. Thank you very much.